If you're a woman existing on the internet in the 21st century, I'm sorry, but you're probably aware of how difficult it is to be active online without a dude constantly harassing you in your DMs. There are probably no women watching this, so picture it like this. You just posted a harmless picture of yourself on Instagram, and after a week of it being up, you get a message from a 44-year-old divorced guy called John. For some reason, his vocabulary only exists of how are you and good morning beautiful. I'm gonna assume you wouldn't reply to John. Now, usually these men are harmless because they live in their mother's basement and are afraid of sunlight. But what happens when a nice guy is actually a 6-foot-tall vampire warlord with an undead army and his own pocket dimension? Enter Strahd von Zarovich, the original incel, the man who looked at the concept of no means no and decided to rewrite the laws of physics instead of just downloading Tinder. Wait, isn't Strahd cool? The book says he's a tragic villain with a complex moral philosophy. Steve, he has a collection of his ex's hair and watches her sleep. If you think that's called moral philosophy, then I need you to whip out your hard drive right now. Believe it or not, before he was the poster boy for gothic horror and the medieval equivalent of a Discord moderator, Strahd was actually just a guy named Strahd. He spent his youth doing what all noblemen did back then, committing war crimes for tax purposes. But once the blood dried up, he built Castle Ravenloft, naming it after his mother, Queen Ravenovia. He invited her to come live in the paradise he had built, but of course she died on the way there. So Strahd was left alone in a giant empty castle with nothing but his wealth, his power, and the realization that he had wasted his entire life fighting wars for people who were now dead. He looked in the mirror and realized he was old, and in the Middle Ages, old means you're roughly 35 and your knees make a popping sound when you stand up. Strahd wanted his youth back, but more importantly, he wanted a girlfriend, and unfortunately for the entire population of Barovia, he actually found one. Her name was Tariana. To a normal person, she was just a peasant girl from the village, but to Strahd, she was the retirement gift he felt entitled to after 40 years of throwing a violently long temper tantrum. He pursued her with the persistence of a crackhead trying to sell you a perk 30 at a high school party. I mean, he was just shoving his portfolio into her face, kinda like how I do when I'm at a job interview and I genuinely don't know what else I could say. But honestly, it was never going to work, especially when you have a way better alternative. Sergey was Strahd's younger brother, and he was basically the guy she tells you not to worry about. He was kind, he was a priest, and he possessed something Strahd hadn't seen in 20 years. Yeah, I killed like 50 guys and like burned their village to bring you this necklace. Oh shit, thanks man. Hey look, I found a cool rock. Bro, I'm so wet right now. Dog, what the f— It was humiliating, and this is where the resentment kicked in. Strahd had spent 40 years eating dirt and stabbing people to conquer this valley. He did the group project all by himself, and when they had to do the presentation, Sergey just stood in the back and received the same grade that Strahd did. Strahd had to stand there and watch Tariana lose her mind over a man whose hardest battle in life was learning how to play the harp. He was literally getting cucked by a slam poet. Now, considering that him and Tariana never reached any type of relationship other than maybe having awkward small talk with each other, you'd think that Strahd would just move on as any other normal person would? Well, obviously not, so what was the solution to all his problems? Signing a pact with some shady people to make him immortal, cause obviously Tariana didn't like him because he was old, not because he was unwell. And the clock was ticking. Sergey and Tariana had just announced they were getting married. It was now or never. He needed a way to stop this wedding and he wasn't going to find it at the local library. He went to the one place in the mountains that ignored all health and safety regulations, the Ember Temple. And naturally, Strahd broke in. He found a sarcophagus holding a dark power named Vampire. Now, usually making a pact with an ancient evil involves complex rituals and moral dilemmas, but Strahd was so desperate he walked in there like a junkie trying to pawn his dead mother's wedding ring for one last hit. Wait, okay, so let me get this straight. You want to live forever so you can date a girl half your age? Yeah. And you're willing to kill your brother, drink his blood, and doom your entire valley to eternal darkness just to get her number? Yeah, exactly. Wow, I never thought this day would come. Just sign here, man. Strahd signed the contract without asking a single question, walking into that shop faster than a broke high schooler signing up for the Marines to buy a Dodge Charger and headed back to Castle Ravenloft for the wedding. The atmosphere was joyous. The wine was flowing, the music was loud, and for everyone else in that room it was the happiest night of their lives. He looked at the happy couple and decided to drop a subtle hint that he was against their marriage by stabbing the groom in the chest. Wait, did he actually think that would work? Steve, stop applying logic to a man who wears a cape indoors. Now, usually, stabbing the groom is considered a bit of a red flag, but Strahd stood there smiling like he just won a prize. He looked at Tariana and thought, I mean, the worst she can say is no, right? So yeah, a about that. Tariana did not take this event as well as Strahd thought she would. She started boarding through the castle, found the nearest balcony and straight up locked herself off it, falling over 1,000 feet. She chose that instead of having a single date with Strahd. Let that sink in. He stood there frozen, which made him a very easy target for the castle guards. But they unknowingly completed the ritual for him. You see, the pact had a very specific checklist. Kill your brother, drink his blood, and get killed by your own people. So basically, everything that happens next is technically their fault. So everyone's dead. Yeah, like everyone. Bit of a weird way to end the wedding, right? After the guards turned Strahd into a hedgehog, the pact was sealed. He woke up as the world's first vampire and proceeded to absolutely dunk on every single living thing in the venue. But after that, he didn't really know what to do. Once the adrenaline faded, the silence hit him like a truck. It was the exact feeling you get when you host a party, everyone leaves, then you have to scrape cheap vodka and puke off the floor. Not like you would know what I'm talking about, Steve, but that was the only reference I could come up with that most of the audience could resonate with. Come on, man, I go to parties. Did you practice saying that in the mirror before coming here? But what the Anyway, we should congratulate Strahd. He's now the immortal ruler of a valley that has worse weather than London. The dark powers made the entire valley of Barovia into a cage. I'd much rather call it a psych ward though. There's this thing called the mist that you can enter through, but once you're inside it makes it impossible for you to leave. And the most fun part is that if he tries to escape it, he just wakes up the next day. Well, okay, but at least he still has people to roll over though, right? Not really, no. Talking to most Barovians is like trying to have a deep conversation with a villager in Animal Crossing. You walk up to them and they just go before handing you an apple and walking into a wall. And the vibes? It's worse. The average life expectancy drops to 0 the second the sun goes down, and the town's #1 hobby is listening to Radiohead and weeping. It is a grey, miserable mudhole where the only form of entertainment is betting on which neighbor gets eaten by the wolves this week. But we haven't even gotten to the best part yet. Tariana isn't actually gone. The Dark Powers made it so Strahd can relive being a bum over and over again by reincarnating Tariana every few generations. The names change, but the personality, face, and basically everything is a direct replica of Tariana. It's also a setup because every time he gets even remotely close to actually being together with one of her reincarnation, she dies. Again. So basically Strahd is even more mad, he's bored, and he hasn't felt a woman's touch in 400 years. To keep himself entertained, he starts ordering victims to his castle. He tells them he's looking for a successor, while obviously he isn't. He invites them to dinner, tells them about his so-called ex-girlfriend, and when he gets bored of it, he kills them. If you've made it this far, then why haven't you subscribed yet? Thank you. And also, if you want to share some ideas and thoughts on what the next video should be about, make sure you go ahead and join my Discord channel. There's a big blue link in the description for it. That's it, bye!